All right, some really big news today. Once again, we've got a good day going for the Trump team. Arizona Supreme Court is going to hear the Republican mail-in ballot challenge. Now, this had been dismissed by a smaller or lower court. However, it turns out that once some ballots were examined, they allowed them to examine a few ballots, and a couple percent of those ballots actually were kind of switched from Biden to Trump. And so that makes this case worth hearing. An Arizona lower court had already dismissed Ward's suit on Friday, but the Arizona Supreme Court decided to hear this case once they found out that there was some serious problems. And so the justices on the Arizona Supreme Court, it might be good to know, were all appointed by Republican governors, 5 of them by the current governor. And so the Arizona Supreme Court may be somewhat sympathetic to the case. So we'll just have to see how that works out. In Michigan, we have a little action going. Michigan House Committee is threatening the Dominion CEO with a subpoena because he is refusing to come and talk to them. There's a lot of answers that need to be given by Dominion, and they are really ducking and dodging. And so Michigan now, they're deciding that they're going to do something about it. They're going to hear from the CEO of Dominion one way or the other. So no matter what has to happen, they're going to go ahead and force their hand. They're asking them to come voluntarily, but if not, soon they will have to come, and so that's going to be a good deal. As I'd reported yesterday, the Antrim County Dominion voting machines have been taken, and they're going to be inspected by the Republican team, and we're going to find out answers on whether there's problems with these machines or not. And so we already know that in Antrim County that several thousand votes had been switched, and so it would not be surprising at all if these machines are shown to be fraudulent, much like the ones in Ware County, Georgia. In Pennsylvania, Dominion had earlier this month was supposed to go see the lawmakers in Pennsylvania to talk to them about Dominion voting systems. And yet, at the last minute, Dominion decided that they didn't want to have this conversation anymore, and so they canceled the meeting. And so Pennsylvania lawmakers are pretty unhappy. In fact, one of them said, "Today I'm saddened to report to the taxpayers of Pennsylvania and the 1.3 million voters who use the Dominion voting that Dominion has hung you out to dry and slapped you in your faces." And so that came from Pennsylvania State Representative Seth Grove. Another big break in Pennsylvania is that over the weekend, the Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito has moved up a timeline for Pennsylvania officials to respond to a lawsuit that argues the state's mass mail-in ballot voting system is unconstitutional. So everybody's probably heard of this Act 77 now, and it was implemented to make it so they could just send out all sorts of mail-in ballots like they did. However, it appears that this Act 77 is not constitutional, as this would have required an amendment to their state constitution, which they didn't get. And so it looks like that the Supreme Court may have some interest in this case in Pennsylvania, because why else would they even try to move this deadline up? If the Supreme Court of the United States had no interest in hearing this case, they would be sitting on their hands and just waiting for the clock to run out. But that's not what Justice Alito decided to do. So it looks like there's a good chance that if this thing makes it to the Supreme Court, what would happen is this Act 77 would be declared unconstitutional. All sorts of ballots would be thrown out. Pennsylvania's election would now be invalid. In the best case scenario for President Trump, he would get the Electoral College votes, but that remains to be seen. But either way, if it was simply a case of the Pennsylvania had no electors, well, that's Biden's total minus 20. And all of a sudden, he's sitting at only 288. And soon enough, he could lose a state or two, and the election would be thrown into the House of Representatives, where we know that President Trump would prevail. I believe he would prevail. In Georgia, the smoking gun video that came out showing the Democrats continuing to count after they went ahead and told everyone to go home, well, the fact checkers, of course, got a hold of that, and they said, "Oh, wait, just a minute. We've got a explanation for all these things." And they started throwing out stories of how, oh, well, we didn't really send anyone home, and thinking that there would be no evidence since the video didn't have sound. Problem is, for all of us that stayed up on election night, we know that the count there in Fulton County had been stopped supposedly because of a water main break. It was told nationwide, so I don't even know how in the world they decided that they was going to try to come up with a lie like that. Well, lie number two was the whole water main break. We know they had a clogged toilet or something at 6 in the morning, and they stopped doing their counting a good probably 18 hours later or something. So that has to be the worst excuse in the history of fraud. So these people are pretty lame when it comes to cheating and lying. You would think that if all the practice they had, that they could do a little bit better, but in this case, they've been caught. The fact checkers, well, they've been caught and proven once again to be liars. And so the Fulton County smoking gun story stands, and that's a big deal. Of course, a Georgia court decided to throw out Sidney Powell's Kraken case. Reason for that was that she was asking too much. She was asking basically just to turn over the election to Donald Trump. The court didn't want to do that. And so her plan now is to move as quickly as she can to the Supreme Court. And so I think better for her is not to ask for anything, but rather for justice to be rendered by a judge. But Sidney Powell wants, of course, the election to be turned over, and I don't really blame her. So do I. So in the room where the counting was going on in Fulton County, all of these people have been identified, and one of the main ones is this woman named Ruby Freeman, and her daughter was the braided girl that actually did the talking. But Ruby Freeman, I guess, is a little higher up the food chain, and they've been asking her for an interview, and she's saying, well, I'd rather not do an interview right now. What I really need to do is get a lawyer. And she is absolutely right about that. She does need to lawyer up because she might have some problems on her hands. Turns out the man in the red shirt has close ties to Keisha Lance Bottoms in Atlanta. Apparently, she had cut him a check right before the runoffs for her own election, in which she ended up winning that election after writing that $3,600 check. So it looks like there's a little bit of shady dealings going on there, and Lance Bottoms is just yet another one of the crooks there right in Atlanta that no one can trust. And so she's going to mess around and get herself in jail if she's not careful. All right, so we haven't talked about Wisconsin in a while, but the Wisconsin Legislative Committee is going to hold a hearing on the presidential election this week. And of course, State Representative Ron Tulser says, I look forward to hearing from eyewitnesses, expert, and election officials about alleged issues in the November 3rd election. And so, yes, I bet they are looking forward to it, and that should be interesting. So the Wisconsin State Assembly Committee on Campaigns and Elections is going to hold this hearing about the election on Friday. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos said, with numerous concerns brought forward, we will proceed with the election investigation. We got to ensure that every legal vote was counted and begin working to eliminate questionable practices that undermine the integrity of the vote. The December 3rd announcement about the hearing notes that the committee has gotten thousands of complaints pertaining to the election and in the past month has been reviewing them. The committee chairman, State Representative Ron Tussler, a Republican, will provide a report of his findings to the committee members and invite speakers to testify before the committee. He went on to say the goal of the ongoing investigation is transparency. Wisconsin voters deserve fair and accurately counted elections. I look forward to hearing from eyewitnesses, experts, and election officials about alleged issues in the November 3rd election. And so, of course, the media outlets have projected Biden to be the winner. But Trump, of course, has not conceded in the contest, and he and others have alleged that the country's election was tainted by fraud, and I am one of those others. So then, to summarize, it looks like that we've got action in all 5 of the main toss-up states, and Nevada's also still got some things going on there, which I'll probably bring to you at a later time. But in Wisconsin, we're going to have a hearing. In Michigan, they're looking at the 22 machines. In Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court's now wanting to look at the Act 77. And of course, in Georgia, we have the ongoing Fulton County mess and the Ware County Dominion machine that has proved to be a smoking gun in and of itself by switching votes from Biden to Trump. And so everywhere you look, the good news is coming in for President Trump. So I think that we can look forward to some good things. Now, President Trump himself last night said that some big things are coming in the upcoming days. So I'm pretty interested to see in just exactly what he has. To let you know about Rudy Giuliani, he's still in the hospital. It sounds like he's doing great. He's following everything that's going on, and of course, President Trump wished him well and said that we're going to carry on. And so that's what I have for you today. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you in a while.